They waited for the engine to arrive. It came as a shock when he did. "Good morning," squirmed Diesel in his oily voice.
Do you guys remember when Thomas actually had bad guys? No, not bad characters. I mean established bad guys, like engines and characters that we know are just not good, do not have good intents. The quote-unquote Thomas bad guys were always stylized as Diesel characters, but weren't just restricted to this. Even in situations where a character wasn't necessarily bad, maybe just a dick to another character, there was still some sort of conflict between them that put a leverage on the characters that the fans loved the most. Mostly either making you feel bad for, possibly root for, just have some sort of deeper relationship with the situation at hand. Conflict isn't the first thing you think of when you think of content for kids, obviously. However, in the proper execution, conflict can very well be taken as a lesson learned rather than just that, conflict. And Thomas and Friends used to do that beautifully.
So Diesel tried to be nice to everybody he met that day.
Note, used to. The whole Steamies versus Diesels trope is probably the largest conflict that can be found in Thomas. Like, they literally named this dude Devious Diesel. Like, I smell some favoritism. And it didn't just stop with Devious Diesel. Remember, there was a time where most Diesel characters were considered as not nice people, with the exception of a couple, like Boko. Hit Entertainment would try to cash in on this whole idea with a DVD that was literally titled Steamies versus Diesels. The overall conflict after this will be mentioned here and there and in dialogue between the engines, but for the most part was dropped by Hit Entertainment.
You'll be laughing on the other side of your boilers soon, silly steamies.
Or so we thought, because Misty Island Rescue came along and boom, we get two blasts from the past, fucking literally. And let me tell you, being such a fan of Thomas and the Magic Railroad, I mean, that's what put me into the Thomas fandom when I was just a couple months old. I was fucking psyched, just like most people were when they saw the teaser, and honestly, I feel like the fandom needed it, as Misty Island Rescue was not something that everybody looked happily upon. At a time, most fans would have considered the show and the movies around it to be in a bit of a rut. Maybe not as bad as we are today, but still. And in a way, this small clip that was featured as an end-credits scene kind of saved the movie for fans. It really gave us hope. Hope that honestly just didn't get us very far. Now, I'm not going to say that all of Day of the Diesels was bad or a letdown, because honestly it wasn't. There was a lot to be desired, but there was some things that they got right. Now, you can't really complain too much because we are kind of lucky to have Dieselton back in a way, but y'all could have at least done it right. See, it's annoying when you already have a character and you can't get that character right. You see, the idea of Diesel 10 was he was someone that you should be intimidated by, or that the other engines should be. And Thomas and the Magic Railroad did that perfectly, because they made him out to be just that, someone to be intimidated by. So much so that he even attacked Tidmouth Sheds in the original Thomas and the Magic Railroad movie. They literally set up Diesel 10 to not only partially destroy the part of Tidmouth Sheds that was being rebuilt, but to threaten Mr. Conductor and all of the engines that were inside of the shed. What do you think they did to him in Day of the Diesel? Oh, Sir Topham Hatt doesn't give me enough attention. He doesn't give me and the other Diesels enough attention, so we're going to take over the Steamworks. Oh, look at me. Oh, win, win, win. So, the idea of Day of the Diesels originally is Percy gets jealous that Thomas is hanging out with other engines, and because of that, he goes to the Diesel Works. At the Diesel Works, Percy ends up befriending Dieselton, who is admittedly at times a bit intimidating like he should be. Dieselton explains to Percy that the reason that the Diesel Works is in such disarray is that Sir Topham Hatt only listens to the steam engines, and naturally feeling bad for them, Percy wants to help. Percy goes around the island collecting different things that the Diesel Works needs, unfortunately from places that need those things too and that already have them. Of course, the entire time being again ignored by Thomas, and Dieselton sees opportunity in this. Dieselton uses Percy for directions to the Steamworks, and upon actually getting to the Steamworks, betrays Percy, saying that he's not going to give the Steamworks back to the steam engines, instead they're keeping it for the Diesels. Yeah, that was the master plan. That was the master plan. Naturally, the steam engines do not respond well to this, and you get an awesome montage of them racing to the Steamworks, and you really get the idea, oh shit, something's about to go down. But nothing goes down. Nothing at all. Sir Topham Hatt shows up and reprimands Diesel 10. And that's the end of it. They get the Diesel Works fixed, the Steamworks gets fixed, that's it. That's just the end of it. Everything works out fine, and why? Like, yeah, I get it, happiness and together and all that jazz, and that's good for children, but seriously? Like, you've already got the idea and have had the idea made that Diesel 10 is somebody that you should be intimidated by, that he's somebody that you don't want to be against, you know? And to take this character that I myself love and that so many other people love for being that, and water him down into literally a baby, like just a baby, and that's literally the only conclusion you can draw. He is a baby. He's a bit of a bitch. Like, think back to Thomas and the Magic Railroad. Diesel 10 was, again, a force to be reckoned with. He was the antagonist to all of our protagonists, and goddammit, you knew it. Even in scenes that are, you know, meant to be funny, you still get this tension, because you just know that he is the bad guy. As bad gets on the island of Sodor, at least. Just just where'd that go? Did you guys just forget? The idea of Steamies versus Diesels is fun, let's be honest. It was something that we had fun with as kids. You know, if you had steam engines and you had diesel locomotives at the same time, there was naturally a conflict because that's just how it was in the show. And oftentimes how we would play with our toys would reflect that, which is, to me, why it seems kind of silly that they just kind of dropped this whole idea. And I know it can be argued that it was never really dropped necessarily, but you could definitely argue that it is not something that is as prevalent in the newer seasons. And let's be honest, Thomas was better when there was conflict and there was bad guys and other characters you had to worry about. Like, every time you saw Devious Diesel on screen, you just knew there was some shit that was gonna happen. And 9 times out of 10, you were not on his side. And when you compare that Diesel to the Diesel that we are now fed, it's just kind of like, the fuck is this? Like, you cannot call this character Devious Diesel. He's just Diesel. Generic black, class 08 Diesel. All of that same and once familiar deviousness is just not there anymore, and that's something that I really feel like Thomas and Friends is missing. Some sort of proper antagonist. So often are our protagonists like Thomas and the other characters put in situations where there's not really anybody that is an opposing side. That isn't Troublesome Trucks. They don't count. I guess you could kind of say we had that in Journey Beyond Sodor with Frankie and Hurricane, but does that really count as, you know, a proper antagonist? I mean, they not only become good engines by the end of the movie, but the entire reason that they're doing what they do to Thomas and James is just simply for the fact that they need help with their work. Diesel Tin was literally trying to, you know, in the world of Thomas. And, you know, it's not even that we have to have those kind of stakes in every situation. It's just, let's have some stakes, just period. There just aren't any stakes like that in Day of the Diesels, and arguably in any Thomas anything since Thomas and the Magic Railroad, and that's probably what made it so special. Thomas and the Magic Railroad had you worry, not only about Thomas, but the well-being of the entire world that he lives in. And not to be that guy, but after that, who gives a fuck how Diesel feels about the situation? He tried to destroy the world, and you make him do this? In a way, I'm happy that the characters that I grew up with, namely Diesel Tin, are, you know, making a comeback and did in some sort of way. It's just really disappointing that they couldn't have done it, you know, the right way. And it kind of sucks because I wish I could say that I have, you know, more hope for them doing better now, but what faith is left? What is there left to have?